Proverbs chapter 28 in verse 15. And this continues these Proverbs for kings and rulers, and describing how they should be, and also describing how they should never be. And this one is how they should never be. 28:15, this concerns kings again. Like a roaring lion and a charging bear is a wicked ruler over poor people. And this is a man who lacks understanding, a man who is only there to take advantage of the people that he rules. And with this imagery of a lion, or a roaring lion, or a charging bear, here is something that is vicious, unrelenting, will oppress, and this is someone that feeds off his subjects. That's what this is describing. A wicked ruler. Now you can have a righteous ruler over poor people. That would be a different thing. But a wicked ruler over poor people, yeah, there's going to be nothing but hardship created, and it's going to be made worse, and the people will live in fear. And we'll see more of that coming up in the next verse. But this is a wicked ruler either is stopped by God, or stopped by someone else, something else. A wicked ruler is either stopped, or his kingdom will fall apart. It'll fall to pieces. That's just the way things will work. That you can only take it so far, and everything falls apart. Now, wicked rulers have been around as long as there have been rulers. Not every ruler is wicked. You can have a King David, who's for the most part good. He has his bad, very bad moment, but he comes back. And you can have someone like Solomon that starts off pretty good, and then he falls away. And you can have someone that just never was good, such as an Ahab. Ahab never was, except for little points in time when he would just kind of quiet down for a bit. But I'm doing a study on Wednesday nights occasionally when Bob cannot teach. I am doing a study on Gilgamesh. All right, Gilgamesh is it is the oldest written, it's the oldest literature that we possess at the moment. This would have been it's out of Mesopotamia. It is originally written in Sumerian, which is a language that comes out of Babel. It had to. And it's translated through the years to like Akkadian, which is also, I think Akkadian sprung up a little bit later, but, and I do mean a little bit by way of centuries. But Gilgamesh is we call it the Epic of Gilgamesh. And it is about a king. And it is lore and legend about that king. But it does say this about him, that day by day, or I should say by day and by night, his tyranny grew harsher. That he wasn't exactly a good king. He was king, but he wasn't exactly a good one. And in the whole, I won't go into it, but in the whole thing is that he is like this very, very heroic person. And they attribute him to being like, I'm not making this up, 2/3 God and 1/3 man. And it is a poem that was discovered for us on this side of time, discovered out of Nineveh. Now, Let's continue on in this, verse 16. A ruler who lacks understanding is a great oppressor. This goes with 15 and with others that we just saw in verse 4 and verse 5. We have seen this, and going up into chapter 27, talking about kings. A ruler who lacks understanding is a great oppressor, but he who hates covetousness will prolong his days. Understand, with Proverbs, with any proverb, you take the whole. You don't take just a portion, you have to take the whole. And sometimes the front of the first part of the couplet sets things up, and the second part makes the full definition, helps us to understand what the first part was. Now, the first part in this, we don't need a whole lot of help. A ruler who lacks understanding is a great oppressor, but now in the second couplet, we see what it concerns. But he who hates covetousness will prolong his days. Now, these aren't two separate thoughts. These go together, that a ruler who lacks understanding is an oppressor and would also be one who covets. All right, if a ruler lacks understanding, could have the idea that I can have anything, therefore I can covet everything, therefore everything in essence belongs to me. All right, and there have been times where you have kings that have decided that entire swaths of land and large forests belong to them, and you can't hunt in there. You may be starving, but you can't hunt in there. Or you can't even get a stick of wood off the ground in there to build you a fire, because it belongs, the king has taken it. It belongs to him. And you can definitely have someone that would believe that it's all what of his want and his will, and that's it. And we can see where wicked rulers can covet what others have. 1 Kings chapter 21, Ahab wants what? Do you remember? Ahab desires something. What does he desire? Naboth's vineyard. That's what he wants. Evidently, it was beautiful. And he doesn't want it as a vineyard. He actually is going to cut all that down and raise vegetables there. And it was next to one of his houses or palaces. It was right. It would have been very, very convenient for him. But he wants it. And to begin with, he is willing to make a trade, an equal trade. He is willing to give Naboth a fair market value, I guess you might say. He is willing to do that. But Naboth actually says no. Well, it's Jezebel who says, you're the king. No one tells you no, in essence. No one tells you no. And so there is a plot to kill Naboth, and then Ahab gets the vineyard. And matter of fact, in 1 Kings 21, verse 19, you have a message that you have murdered and also taken possession. And this is no doubt would be a temptation for a ruler who believes they have absolute reign and authority, and it's unchecked. And what do they say about power? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it most definitely can. Now, you put the right king in and it won't, because the right king cannot be corrupted, and I mean Jesus of Nazareth. The right king, the Son of God, cannot be corrupted ever, and he will always tend to his flock. As we have seen, main mention going back into chapter 27 of be mindful or always look over or out for your flock, and that it will be good when you do. Well, evil men who have no understanding they're going to do what they want to do. Now, one more story, and it concerns, every now and then we bring up Henry VIII because he was not a good man, all right? And as I have said before, you don't have to be one of his wives to be in danger of Henry VIII. All right, that was a large circle right there. And there was a man who was an advisor to him, a trusted advisor. He was Cardinal Wolsey, and he happened to have Hampton Court. He built it for himself. And of course, a cardinal has lots and lots and lots of wealth. And he built it to be impressive. And Henry sees it and wonders why a cardinal has a palace fit for a king. You know, this is for a king, not for a cardinal. Anyway, long story short, Wolsey dies, but in the hopes that he wouldn't die, he gives it to Henry. And yeah, Henry moves right on in. And Wolsey does die. He is killed. Well, actually, he would have been killed, but he dies of a heart attack or something like that on his way to being killed. So Henry doesn't quite get that, but I mean, it's good enough. Dead is dead, I suppose. But there is your great oppressor and that one who covets. Now, verse 17. A man burdened with bloodshed will flee into a pit. Now, this does connect up to verse 16. Because that great oppressor, a man burdened with bloodshed will flee into a pit. And here comes these harsh words. Let no one help him. This also applies to kings. It's not just to ordinary folks. And it's not just to kings either. This is to everyone. Absolutely everyone. And if we go back to 26 and verse 27, whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and he who rolls a stone will have it rolled back on him. This is a man burdened with bloodshed. He is a man of bloodshed. Proverbs 1 and verse 18, going all the way back to chapter 1, Proverbs 1:18. But they lie in wait for their own blood. That is that first temptation that is being presented to the Son in this. That do not listen to men like this. Do not listen to people like this. That they are as a mob, as a gang, as what we would call organized crime. They're working together to rob and kill. All right, and he says they lie in wait for their own blood. In Proverbs 29 in verse 1, we see these words. Once again, this is harsh. It goes right here to let no one help him. 29 verse 1, he who is often rebuked and hardens his neck will suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. There's no remedy to this. And now getting back to burdened with bloodshed, Matthew 26 and 52, Jesus rebukes Peter, but Jesus said to him, put your sword into its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. All right, what Peter was doing, trying to defend Jesus from an arrest. Of course, he attacks, it's the high priest's servant. He cuts off his ear. Jesus heals him. And he's telling him that my servants don't fight like this. Not like this. My servants don't fight. They don't take up the sword. They don't cause riots. They're not. There's not going to be any defense, any kind of physical sword or physical weaponry that goes to defend Christ. That's not going to happen. And in Proverbs 11 verse 19, as righteousness leads to life, so is he who pursues evil, so he who pursues evil pursues it to his own death. Now this is connected, verse 17 is connected to 18. Whoever walks blamelessly will be saved, but he who is perverse in his ways will suddenly fall. Now, we can look at, I think maybe Sunday we looked at this, I can't remember, but Revelation 2 and verse 21, it concerns Thyatira and Jesus addressing the church at Thyatira and that corrupt woman who happens to be in that congregation. She happens to be teaching there, the worst sort of teaching, and he says, I gave her time to repent. And what is being described there, I would put right under perverse. It would definitely be in this category of perverse. And when it happens, this sudden fall, it's going to be quick. All right, and there will be no remedy. It is going to be quick. And the idea of no remedy is eternal. That is, talking about absolute, that is absolute. There is no remedy. Someone who has this sudden fall, someone who is fleeing into a pit, and what we see in chapter 29, verse 1, he will suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy, that there's no bringing that person back. And there is no mercy offered to that person anymore. There's none. The eternity begins, I guess we could say. That person has died, and on the other side, there is no way to remedy what they did in this life. Once on the other side, that's it. That's it, and there's nothing to be done. There's no purgatory. That's fiction. You can't find that in the Bible anywhere. Not by word or name or concept or anything. It does not exist. And there is no opportunity to repent on the other side of death. It's over at that point. And that is that. Now, verse 19. He who tills his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows frivolity will have poverty enough. Now, we could connect this to kings, and kings can be frivolous. That is sure. That is of having extraordinary, who was it? Louis the 16th, I think it was, almost bankrupted France because of all the things that he was doing, all the things that happened to have been that he was building, and the extravagance and all of that. He came to a point of coming to bankrupt France. But now we look at this from that of just everybody else's point of view, and concerning laziness, he who tills his land will have plenty of bread. There's the answer. You should be working to have the bread. You should be doing something to have the bread. Now, it is true that when you have people who live in what we will call tropical paradises, where things just grow wild, food just grows wild in the forest, and if you're hungry, you can just go into the forest and basically get things out of the forest, or things are easily obtained from the sea. Or while there is work involved in that, it's not near like in other parts of the world where it's not a tropical paradise. You do have you don't have constant growing seasons. You have winters, and people that live outside of any kind of tropical paradise, they've got to learn how to survive through the winter and make it to the next harvest. They've got to do that, and truly, people develop when there's that kind of hardship. Truly, they do, because they learn to do that, and it's by necessity. And there are some places in the world where you have smaller and smaller windows in time in which to till the field, in which to harvest, to make the harvest. There are some places that are more extreme, where if you don't do it in this short window of time, you're not doing it. It's done. It's over with. And so where is frivolity in all of this? Well, you need to put that in check. All right, that a man who just seeks after the frivolous, after the useless, after the pointless, is going to come to poverty enough. Now, in Luke 15, verse 13, we see of prodigal living went right to starvation. That wasteful living, and yeah, it was the older brother that said he's wasted your money on harlots. And it's a proverb. It's a parable. It's Luke 15, the prodigal son is a parable, and the older son probably was right, because it is a proverb in all this, but regardless, it was prodigal living. And frivolity is nothing but empty, it's useless, it's worthless things, and just spending your time and your money and your energy on that which is just a waste. There's nothing wrong with a certain level. There's nothing wrong with that. But there comes a point when, okay, other things have got to be done now. Other things have got to be done. When I was a child, my life was like most other children, was just filled with frivolity. I mean, it was. I had toys and just running around being pretty much useless, and that was frivolity. Fortunately, I didn't have to, I wasn't the one that earned the bread. I wasn't the one that put food on the table. Otherwise, we all would have starved. That would have been the quick result. That would have been the quick result. And he who tills the land will have plenty of bread. So work is part of reality. It's not a thing to be avoided. And people like royalty, who really don't work much of anything and everything is done for them, they don't really develop as people. They're people, but they don't develop like anybody else. And I remember having a very good friend. He grew up in a wealthy family, and there were certain things he never, ever did. Never did. I remember one time peeling an apple, and he had never peeled an apple. It's like, but that's not to say he never grew. I think he probably did, but here is the idea that work is going to bring about bread, and it's also going to develop you as a person. It's going to develop you, and you won't be just a spoiled child for the rest of your life. And God doesn't want a bunch of spoiled children who should have learned better a long, long time ago. There's other things we can look at. Proverbs 23 and verse 21, for the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty, and drowsiness will clothe the man with rags. There's others, but we'll move on. Verse 20, 28 and verse 20, a faithful man will abound with blessings, but he who, look at this, but he who hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. Now, there's nothing wrong with having an ambition to do well and excel. There's nothing wrong with that. Nor is there anything wrong with someone saying, I would like this career because you can make a good occupation out of it and you can make good money out of it. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is something wrong with this love of money, because the love of money is what? The root of all evil. All right? And that's precisely what we're talking about. A faithful man, he's the one that is, it says, abound with blessings, but he's not the one who's greedy, but he is diligent, and he does reap benefits, and he is not one that it is wealth, whatever the means. There are people who have gotten hurt, and hurt financially, because of someone offering them a get-rich-quick scheme which doesn't work. Yes, that's exactly right. What was his first name? Madoff was, anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, Madoff is exactly right, of someone who took millions upon millions upon millions of dollars by people who thought he could make them rich, because his results evidently were extraordinarily good, better than anybody's could possibly be, and he was nothing but a thief. That's all he was. And trying to sustain that as long as he could. Eventually, he gets caught. But here you have this idea of hastening to be rich. And it doesn't matter the means. And truly, anybody can be rich if you don't mind just grinding everybody in your path. If you don't mind that. If you don't mind betraying friends or anybody to the top, or whoever you have to kill, it does not matter. Anybody can be rich. Anybody. But there will be punishment for any kind of dishonesty, any kind of immoral behavior, anything such as that. In order to be rich, there will be punishment. And this is just dishonesty that's run by greed, is what it is. Or greed run by dishonesty. Riches are the goal and wealth by any means whatsoever. Now we come to 21. And this does go back to rulers and kings. Verse 28 and verse 21. To show partiality is not good, because for a piece of bread a man will transgress. Now, we need to understand these two and balance them out properly. Balance them out according to other teaching in Proverbs and also in the Bible itself. To show partiality is not good. It's never good to show partiality. That is never good. And we can see in a place such as Exodus 23 and 3, you shall not show partiality to a poor man in his dispute. You show justice, you don't show partiality. Now, I'm bringing that up because it states in the second part of this couplet, because for a piece of bread a man will transgress. Notice the words will transgress. He's wrong doing it. And the Solomon, the Holy Spirit is putting these things down through Solomon. Solomon is showing that there is transgression that is here. And if we just look at Other parts of this, Proverbs 24 and 23, these things also belong to the wise. It is not good to show partiality in judgment. It never is. And we also see in Proverbs 29 and 7, a righteous man considers the cause of the poor. Always considers that, but there's a difference between considering and showing partiality. Because, like with this, because of a piece of bread, a man will transgress. Okay? That there was a need and everybody understands that need. Everybody gets that need. But you can't steal from others because you have a need. If that is the case, then I can need everything, which means I can take everything. But Proverbs 6:30 states concerning a man who steals when he's starving, if he steals to satisfy himself when he is starving, yet when he is found, he must restore sevenfold. That was no excuse. It's no excuse. And we have mentioned it before, but it is better to die today righteous than to sin today in the hopes of living for tomorrow. Okay. It is better just to go ahead and die righteous now than to sin, to fall away from God in order to see the sun rise again. All right. And here, when he says to show partiality is not good, he means it. And we can see in places like James 2, 1 through verse 9, that is the case. Of course, in James 2, verses 1 through 9, it is showing partiality to the rich. You don't show partiality to the rich. You don't show partiality to the poor. Both are treated equal. And everyone is to be treated in the same way. And a criminal is a criminal is a criminal. It doesn't matter their state in life. Now, verse 22. This is matched up back with verse 20. A man with an evil eye hastens after riches and does not consider that poverty will come upon him. All right, 1 Timothy 6, 9 through 10, those who desire to be rich, it speaks of the misery that comes by that. And also we mentioned the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And note that this is all guided by an evil eye. Well, what does that mean? That means this person is evil. This person is covetous. This person wants things that does not belong to them, and they are just going to pile it up and pile it up and pile it up however they can. And this person has no idea, is completely unaware, and has no thought concerning the outcome, and does not consider that poverty will come upon him. You know, I remember in high school there was this kid who he was a year ahead of me, but he had a personal goal. He had a personal goal that he said, and of course at that point he would have been 17 at the oldest. All right. He may have even been 16. I can't remember. But he had a goal that by age 20 he would be a millionaire. Okay. I doubt he made it. I seriously doubt he made it. And he made, I mean, who knows what he is today? I mean, I have no idea if he lived much past high school. I never saw him again. But that was his goal. And if that is your goal, then you can set aside family, you can set aside friends. You most certainly will have to set aside God. You'll have to set aside those things if that is what you want. And you can just look at others who have desired that same thing, and do you want to imitate them and their life? All right, Al Capone, that's one. There would be others that I would just know general, I can't remember their name, of drug lords and heads of cartels and the like. That here is just this desire to be rich, and nothing else matters. Human life doesn't matter, just hastens to be rich. And yeah, there will come to an end to that. They'll come to an end. All of it will. And this person who has this evil eye, well, if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. Yeah, there is that complete darkness. Now, verse 23. He who rebukes a man will find favor afterward than he who flatters with the tongue. While a rebuke hurts, I would rather someone try to correct me. And Catrice will say, good luck on that. But try to correct me than someone who's just going to flatter. Because someone who is telling me the truth and how they feel on something is of greater value to me than someone who's just trying to take advantage by way of flattery. And that's what the flattery in every other instance in the book of Proverbs, that's what flattery is for. It is for taking advantage of the person you are flattering in every single case. And matter of fact, we're coming up in the next chapter, I do believe, about putting a net down. He who flatters with the tongue sets a net. Well, somewhere. I'm looking in the wrong chapter. Verse 5, 29 verse 5. A man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his feet. Yeah. And would you rather someone tell you the truth or spread a net for your feet? That's an easy decision, even though one can hurt. It can hurt a lot. One can, in fact, hurt, but to make the correction, and we can just go back to chapter 12 in verse 1. Whoever loves instruction loves knowledge. That would be a rebuke. Whoever loves instruction loves knowledge. But he who hates correction is stupid. All right, now, I didn't choose that wording. That wording's there. Okay? And so someone offers a real rebuke, then that's worth following. That's worth changing for. Now, we come to verse 24. Whoever robs his father or his mother and says it is no transgression, the same is a companion to a destroyer. All right, now we have similar wording that we find concerning that the same is a brother to a destroyer. And that would be someone who is lazy is a brother to a destroyer. And we explain that. But here is this idea that I guess because my parents gave me everything I needed, therefore everything they have is mine, or because it is so easy to take from them, I'll do it, or they seem to have everything anyway, I need it more than they do, or surely they would want to help me in this, surely they would, but whoever robs his father or his mother and says it is no transgression, that's a companion of a destroyer. How so? Because you are stealing, you are depriving, you are taking simply because you can take it. Or that sounds like a thief. That sounds like a destroyer. And you may be putting them in a situation for bringing about hardship on them.
And sometimes murder, because
yes.
two young men
Yeah. Well, yeah, what Jewel just said was that sometimes there is murder that's involved as well. And I mean, honestly, and not that I want to give anybody any ideas, but honestly, there are certain people that are easier to murder than others because they trust you. All right? It's called betrayal. They trust you. And the same thing in just basic stealing. Someone who trusts you, really trusts you, you've always been in their household, and now you can take as you please. Well, all right, what happened to honor your father and your mother? What happened to that one? Well, that doesn't matter. All right, evidently, it doesn't matter. And Ephesians 6 and verse 2, Paul writes there that is the first commandment with promise. And it does have a promise to it, that you may live a long life, that you may continue on. Now, this whole idea of it is no transgression, we see a similar proverb, but it's concerning an adulterous woman. Proverbs 30 and verse 20, an adulterous woman says, I have done no wickedness. All right, so that you have someone that it is just, they're oblivious to the fact that they are doing harm. They're oblivious to that fact. They simply don't know right and wrong. They simply or just refuse to know it. They are being extremely foolish in it. And there is great harm in all of this. And we're going to have to stop this morning. We have run out of time. I appreciate everybody being with us. And hopefully next week we can continue.